Hey guys, and welcome to Iron Vlog number 219. This is a daily video series about my journey to become Iron Man. So if you're here for the thumbnail and the title of this video, check the timestamp below and you can skip just to that part. And then if you're not here for that and you're one of my fans and you want to skip the tutorial, you can do that. That's also timestamped below. Anyway, let's get on with the video.
Sterling Edge Industrial Cutting. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it at any time. Or for a dial by name directory, press 1. This line may help you.
Hey, I'm trying to talk to someone about getting a quote.
Okay.
What kind of file type do you guys like? Can I send it to you as it is right now? Do you have software that can flatten everything? Do I need to flatten it for you? Do you want DXFs?
We cannot flatten it. Ultimately, we're headed for a DXF file. All right, thanks.
Bye. Get the quote, guys. Alright guys, this is the part of the video if you came for the thumbnail or the title of this video. I'm going to show you guys how to take this part right here, which is a piece of my exoskeleton, the helmet, and I'm going to show you how to break down each of the components. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components that make up this thing, and each of them has their own body in here. I'm a little zoomed in on this. I want you guys to be able to see what I'm talking about. Let me scoot it over a little bit. So each of these have multiple bodies in them, and this is going to be a part that's going to be it's going to be flat aluminum extrusion that is going to be water jet cut. I'm paying a company in Colorado where I live to cut this out for me, and they want DXF files, which means I need to take all these, put them into the same plane, and then make a sketch that has them all in there, and then save that as a DXF. So I'm going to show you a really good way to do that, to where you'll be able to keep, essentially, we're going to build it inside of this file, and then we're going to roll the history marker back so that it stays the same, and we still have access to all that. But then if you wanted to, you could roll ahead, and it should update as it goes. So you'll be able to make changes to this, and it should go downstream and change your DXF file that you would, well, change the sketch that you could then do another DXF file if you were to change something in here. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm normally working this gray environment. It's called Gray Room. I like it the most. I like the color because it's easier on my eyes when I'm looking at the screen for a long time. But mostly I like the way that the colors in the sketches look. So if you don't use this, I recommend you check it out. It's pretty awesome. But today what I'm going to do, just to make it a little bit more easy for you guys to see, is I'm going to go to the environment and I'm going to go to photo booth and just make it a little brighter so you guys can see it. So I'm going to turn this body off. This is a scan I had made of me, but we don't need that right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to create, and I'm going to create a new body, or new component, excuse me. And that's going to be inside the parent one, which is the head. It says it right here. And I'm going to make a new component, and it goes ahead and activates that component when you do this. And then I'm actually going to click in here, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to make another new component as well. So now I have a component inside of this component. Then what I'm going to do is I would go in and just take my first file, open it up, go here, hold shift, click, and take these, and then I'm going to hit Command C. I'm going to have a little bit, I'm going to have the words popping up on screen here so you guys can see those as well. Command V to paste, that was Command C was copy. Command V is paste. You can also do that by right clicking if you don't know the keyboard shortcuts, which I recommend you know keyboard shortcuts because they're awesome. But if you don't, that's how you can do that. Then I'm just going to grab these and I'm going to pull them out so that they're not right on top of these other ones. Then I'm going to hit OK. So now you'll see if I click on this component, which is inside of this component, so I'm going to rename this one so we know what we're doing here. This one is going to be called cut, because these are the parts I'm going to have cut. So I'm going to hit cut there, and there we go. So now if I click on this first one, you'll see there's a whole bunch of bodies in here, and those are all those bodies. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 more to this. I'm going to hit new component, new component, new component, new component. Now I have 5, we already put bodies in one of them, but now I have 5 empty components, or 4 empty ones. So then I started with it number 3, right? So now I'm going to come to number 4. I'm going to open up number 4, and I'm going to grab all the bodies out of here, hit Command C, or you can right click and hit copy. Then I'm just going to click on this, don't need to go into it or anything, and hit Command V, and that'll fill that one with bodies as well. So if you look in here, there's all the bodies like that. And again, with this one, I'm going to grab them. They'll be highlighted and move them. If you were to click off of this or something and you want to do it, just hit move the M button and then move them again yourself. We're going to be using a lot of these commands though as we go down this. And then I can see here that I did something a little bit wonky. I have 2 different components in here on this first one, so I missed some of the bodies in here, so I'm just going to go grab those ones as well. I'm going to go like that. I'm going to hit Shift, Command C, and then I'll come back to that original one that we were in there, and I'm going to hit Command V, and I'm going to bring those in there, and then they're going to pop up right here, so I'm going to pull them over here. Hit OK. You can also hit Enter instead of having to hit OK on these things. All right, so we have the first 2 populated. Let's go and get the last 3 here. In order to click all these, I'm hitting Shift. For whatever reason, that's not popping up in my thing. I'm going to go into the third one here. Command V. That's going to paste them, move them over. Hit OK. Now this one, Command C. Come to the second to last one. The penultimate one. Grab those, pull them over. There's just 2 bodies in this one, real small, like that. Don't worry about getting them. I put them all kind of roughly in the same spot, but they do not need to be like exact by any means because we're going to move them around anyway. Then we're going to do the last one here. Shift, grab them all, Command C, come into the last one that I have, Command V. Putting these all in different components like this is not strictly necessary. I could just put them all in one component underneath the cut. The reason I'm doing this is it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to do like double checks and make sure that I have all the components from my original one over here in here. Does that make sense? So I want to make sure that I have them all, and this will just make them easier to count because then I can go and turn them off and do that. And even after once I flatten them out, we'll still be able to do that. So to me, it just makes it a little bit more efficient and easier to see. And then I can easily like turn them all off with just the cut. That's why I have them in here. So there's a couple ways to do those things, but I think this is probably the best way to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn these off so I can't see them anymore. These 2 parts are exomuscle anchors. I've developed a new type of actuator. I'm not going to copy the components from there, so I'm not going to worry about those. Oh, I missed one right here. I forgot about this one, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to hit New Component. I'm going to grab one more here. Or I'm going to grab these last ones rather and stick them in there and then move those over here and turn that off. And now we have all these. So now what we need to do is I'm going to open these up and I'm going to click, hold Shift, pull down, right click, and I'm going to hit Create Components from Bodies. As they are right now, as bodies, if you move one of them, it moves them all because they're all essentially the same component. So if you try to flatten one of them, all the bodies are gonna move with it. And because this is not one component, I'm going to weld it together into a single component, but I need them cut as individual components. Now, I could have designed them this way at the beginning, but then I would have had to come in and assemble them and put them together, and so it would have made actually designing it really complicated for me. So I designed them as each part that was like fixed to itself. I could design that as a component and then put individual bodies in it, and now I'm pulling those bodies out and turning them back into components so that I can lay them down flat. So I'm just going to do that for all of these different components we just built and populated with the bodies from the components of the original. And I'm going to take all the bodies, highlight them, right click, and turn them all into components. And that's what that does. So this is going to allow me to come in here, allow us to come in here and lay these flat using the Align tool. Okay, so as you can see, I finished that up. You can see that all of these, where there was bodies, they all now say components. So there's a whole mess of components in here now. I'm going to close these down so they're easier to view, and then I'm going to show you how I start going on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn all but the top one off, so it's just a little bit easier to see what's going on here. I'm going to activate this. I think that's a go ahead. You don't have to. You could really have anything activated, but it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to go ahead and just have the cut piece activated. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the alignment tool to do these. Now, go ahead and turn your origin on if that's what you want. You can align this to anything flat, really. I'm just going to align it to this origin down here. I'm not sure if that's the X or the Y or whatever that is, but I'm going to align it to that one. So Now what I'm going to do, so what you would do, I've created a keyboard shortcut, so I'm going to be using the keyboard shortcut, but if you didn't, you come into modify, and then you use align. And you can see here I've added this keyboard shortcut, so if you wanted to do that, click on these right here, and then hit change keyboard shortcuts, and you can add your own shortcut. Because I've been doing this all day for every single component in my exoskeleton, I wanted to have a keyboard shortcut set up, but you won't have that to begin with. So anyway, just know you can do it by adding your own keyboard shortcut, or you can do that. So this when you hit that align tool, this is what's going to come up. So you have, you're going to want this set to components and then from one to the other. So all you're going to do is just hit a flat plane, and then you're going to click and you're going to put it into, like I said, you can really do it anywhere, but we're going to go ahead and do it to the origin here. And then after you click the first one, you can actually go ahead and once you do it to the first component, you can go ahead and turn the origin off. And then we're just going to keep using this align tool to align them and flatten them all down. So I'm going to hit align. And I'm just going to keep doing this, and this is why you want a keyboard shortcut, because if you have a lot, if you only have like 2 components, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if you have a bunch of components like I'm working with currently, you're going to want to be able to do this. So you see how I'm just doing it, turning the lines off on this because it's hard for my computer to get this data and do this at the same time. So it's going to look a little funny, but you'll see what I'm doing. So all I'm doing is finding a flat point and then going to essentially the nearest flat point that I know is on level. And clicking on that. It doesn't matter if they're the same height, it just matters that the flat faces are completely parallel to each other. So that's what the align tool does. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to click align like this, and I'm going to grab all the components in the first main component, the first parent component I did. So this one's the only one turned on. I'm grabbing them all, and I'm going to flatten all these down. So doing that, and you can see here I'm using Control A because that's how I set it to do that. If you were to hit Control A right now, nothing should happen. And if you just hit A, you would bring up the appearance. I'm not sure why they put a shortcut for appearance. Don't find myself changing the appearance of things a whole lot in Fusion 360. It doesn't seem super useful to me. But anyway, that's how we do it. So gonna finish these out here. And there we go. So now I have all from that first component. I have them all flat, but you can see they've all stacked up on top of each other. That's just an artifact of how it aligns. I'm not really sure how it's deciding to do that. But the next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to hit the M key, which opens up my Move tab. If you, for whatever reason, don't want to use that, you go to Modify. God, I'm not even really sure where Move is. I use it so little. Okay, you got to find that on your own. I'm using the Move key, so the M to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to try to click on a face because I don't want to get like a weird angle or anything, but I think pretty much click anywhere on it, it's going to be okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these, and I'm going to start to organize them. I'm going to move them kind of a little bit away, but not too far away that I have to be carrying them super far from these, and I'm just going to hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack them up to where they're not on top of each other. Now, I'm going to organize them a little bit. I'm just going to essentially kind of set them close to each other, but I'm not trying to maximize space here. If you're watching this tutorial and you're cutting them yourself, you might try to get them close together so that you can maximize your space if you had like your own tool for cutting. They do sell software that can maximize it, and that's what the industrial guys have. So to me, it doesn't matter how efficiently organized these are. What to me matters is whether or not they're just making sure there's no overlap so I can get a good file off of these. Now I'm going to take this one here, which is thinner, because I have this main bulk of my suit is going to be made out of 1/8 inch material, and this is a 16,000 inch spacer that goes in there, so I need these as 2 separate files because it's going to be 2 different cuts. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it just to a different area over here, and I'm going to put it right there so that I have that I'm just essentially placing them into 2 separate piles. Like literally, if you were a child sorting blocks or something like that, is just what you want to do. So if you have 2 different thicknesses, that's how you can do it. If not, you just put them all in the same area. These parts won't necessarily go into 2 piles like this. They're just essentially going to go all over the place. So when you're moving them around, just zoom out after you get them all laid down flat, and then see wherever they go and just grab them and put them into one spot. Like I said, you just technically don't have to do this, but if they're overlapped, you're not going to get a good DXF off of these. It wouldn't make sense to the guy you're sending it to. If you're if you're getting it water jet cut or laser cut or EDM cut, however you're getting it cut, they should be able to take DXF files. If not, Fusion 360 makes it really difficult. If you were to export these as STLs, they would go back to their original orientation, and all of this would be gone. So after we get those, if they have to take a different type of file, what you would do is you would just do exactly what we're doing all the way to the end of the video, and then at the very end, instead of exporting the sketch we're going to make as a DXF, you would just use it to re-extrude all these parts, and then they would be in the proper orientation, and then you can send that off as an STL or whatever file they want, but they should be able to take a DXF. Okay, so now I have all of these from the first component here organized, but we made all these different ones, and also by making these into separate components, it just makes it a little bit more bite-sized to get these. What I have is really large files. So now what I'm going to do, I was going to do it for you guys, but I think you get the idea. So now my OBS software is making my computer run slow to do this at the same time. So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to take these, I'm going to flatten them all out, and then I'm going to stick them back into the two sorted piles. And I'm going to finish by showing you guys how to make the sketch and export the file. Okay, guys, so I have all the parts laid down. So these all right here are the main components that we're going to be making one sketch out of, and then these right here are the spacers, and they're all the same size, just circles essentially. There's a lot less spacers in my design than there are main components. So, okay, so now that I got these all laid out, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to save because I'm paranoid, but did that work? Yeah. Oh, I've already saved. That's why it's doing that. But anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a line in capture position. If you, by the way, didn't do that, you could come up here and click capture position. Because these have all been moved, it hasn't captured that position. So if I do this, by the way, it reverts everything and it brings it back together. You see how that happened? So if you were to accidentally do that, hit Command Z and it would bring it all back. But then now what we're going to do is hit capture position here. That'll keep those locked where they are. It'll appear in your timeline as well. It's in one of these right here. Then I'm going to hit just line to start a sketch. I use the L to do a line. Then I'm going to hit P for project. All of these can also be found in the create tab underneath your sketch once your sketch is started. So like project is right there. You see the P, there's the P. So anyway, hit project, and then I'm just going to come along and I'm going to click on every single face. I'm going to try not to click on any I'm not going to click on any lines or points, just faces. That way it can make, just essentially let Fusion decide how best to trace these out and make these. So come through, click on every single one of these mini faces, and this is going to take a second, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and then I'll speed up the video. So right here, by the way, you can tell by the fact that this is like lit up right here that I accidentally clicked that line, and I don't want that in there twice, so I'm just going to click it again. You could come over here and clear them all if you couldn't get it off, but then you'd have to go re-click them all. And you cannot use Command Z to bring back your selections until you hit enter. So anyway, I'm going to keep going. This entire process will go a little bit faster, even if you're using an old computer like me. I'm using a 2012 MacBook to do this. So if you have an old shitty computer, you can still make cool shit. You got to be a little more efficient, but you can still do it. Anyway, this would be a faster process if it wasn't being a little glitchy, because I'm also trying to record at the same time. Okay, I got them all selected here. I'm just going to hit OK. And there you go, generated all my lines, except you'll see the one that you initially, the first one you clicked on, isn't going to produce those lines. They're in there. That's just how Fusion 360 does it. It doesn't do it. If you really wanted to see them, you could project them and put them in there twice, but that's not necessary. So they're in there, and they should come out in your DXF. If you really wanted to get rid of that, you could have clicked on the origin we clicked on at the beginning, but you'll be able to see it. So anyway, I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit line again, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for these components, which will take literally 2 seconds in comparison. Come over here, finish the sketch. And now I have 2 different sketches. So as long as this was activated, they will end up in this file. And I just like that for organization. If they ended up here in your main file, it's not the end of the world. But there they are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to label them. You can use whatever naming convention you want that makes sense to what you're doing. But this one is going to be my main parts. And then this one is going to be my spacers right here. So I have my main parts and my spacers, and then I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here on my file. I'm going to hit right click. I'm going to hit save as DXF. Hit save. And then I'm going to do this as title this main head, which is my naming convention here. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here on spacers. And I'm going to write spacers head like that. Now, we're not quite done yet because here's kind of the cool part. I'm going to click this here. I'm going to reactivate the entire thing. I'm going to scroll down my timeline here, and I'm going to find where I started here. I know this is about where I was. That's the creation of that first body that we made, this cut body. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to come one before that. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit roll history marker here. That all disappeared. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back. I'm going to turn on all of my main stuff, just like that. So now I'm back to my original file. This is not in the file anymore. It's still in here. If I rolled this forward, you would see it. But now I'm just going to hit save. And now I didn't adjust my original file really at all because the rest of it is in the history marker. So this file is then linked into the other file, like the full body file. Here's the full file. So here you can see the head, and then on the head file, which is the one we were looking in right here, head attempt 1, you can see it's underneath that exclamation mark, which means it's just not up to date. There's a little link, like chain link, like 2 pieces of chain. That means these are linked. So if I were to come here and hit get latest, if I didn't roll that history marker back, when I hit get latest, it would bring in all the duplicate stuff that's in flattened out, and that would just be over on the side. And depending on whether or not the visibility was turned on that, you would see it in this file that is linked to, and that would be annoying, especially since I'm doing that for every single part on this entire suit. I don't want that in there. So you see there, you can see the link. I don't want that in there, so by saving that at the right point, I still have all that, I essentially still have those 2 sketches that I can use to build the suit out of, but I can go up and I can make changes to all this, and I can keep it all together and not lose the cohesiveness of this entire suit. So yeah, guys, that's it for that tutorial. I don't do a whole lot of these type of tutorial videos. I do some, and what I'm planning on doing, I have aspirations to do a full series on Fusion 360 and how to use it. I've gotten pretty damn good at using the Fusion 360. I'm definitely not the best, and I don't really use a lot of these other ones in here. I pretty much am just in the design window, but there's a bunch of other windows. Sculpt is the main one, but and then camming. I don't use a whole lot of cam either, but I do a lot of design. I do it really well. So what I would like to do, I like teaching too, to martial arts my entire life, and I never learned martial arts as good as when I taught it. So at some point, I'm planning on doing a series of videos on how I use Fusion 360 to design what I do. So if you're interested in it for that reason, you can maybe subscribe to my channel, but those will probably not be coming out for a while. If you're really into cool shit though, like Iron Man stuff, go to my channel, click, it should be right down there, click on my name, Dylan Edmiston, and watch my channel trailer, and you'll see the cool shit I'm building. And currently it's a description of how this thing works that I built in Fusion 360. It's how it all moves together and how it works, and then how I'm going to build it. I talk about how I'm going to weld it. I talk about all that good shit in here, and I actually make daily videos. That's kind of my thing. So my videos aren't super polished, so if you're expecting really pretty Casey Neistat videos, although that dude also makes daily videos. Anyway, I digress. If you're looking for that, maybe not channel for you, but if you're interested in cool shit, awesome shit, if you're interested in Iron Man, if you're interested in badass stuff, consider subscribing to my channel. If not, thank you for watching. And for my regular viewers out there, I will continue with our regular broadcast right now. Hey guys, that's it for today. I was hoping to get all of those parts flat, but it kind of took me a long time. I was kind of spinning my wheels figuring out how best to arrange those and actually make those files in a way that it would continue to update like that. Having it continue to update was important to me because I'm not done with the file. So I figured it out. It just took a little bit longer. So tomorrow, I'm a little over halfway through flattening out all the files and getting the STLs, the DXFs out, and that's what they want to get the quote made. So I'm going to finish that tomorrow, and then I'll send it out, and then that's right before I go out of town. So I'll have that, and then I'll be out of town on vacation making cool videos of me shooting with my friends and stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun, friends and dad. And then after that, I'm going to come back, I'm going to get to work making some money and getting that, well, the ability to actually get the shit bought and made. So it's pretty cool, guys. I love you. Have a good one.